The book of John today, and we read chapter 4, verse 21 to 24. Jesus replied, "Believe me, dear woman, the time is coming when it will no longer matter whether you worship the Father on this mountain or in Jerusalem. You Samaritan know very little about the one you worship, while we Jews know all about him, for salvation comes through the Jews. But the time is coming, indeed it's here now, when true worshippers will worship the Father in spirit and in truth. The Father is looking for those who will worship him that way. For God is a spirit, so those who worship him must worship him in spirit and in truth." Thank you. Um, Worship is the technology of pleasing a spirit being. And one of the things that a spirit is pleased with is when you make a choice to put him first of all things that surrounds your life. A spirit is pleased when you consistently show him, not just show him occasionally, but consistently. By your action and by your life, that your existence and essence are dependent on him, and that you draw your significance from him. A spirit is pleased when you prove that nothing can replace him, even if other things, including other spirits, can have a chance in your life to place their bidding. If you can prove that God is more important in your life than everything, and you give him what he wants, which is your life, then there is nothing you want he cannot give you. Because then you would have become a true worshiper in that way. Let me give an example with a woman in the book of Samuel by the name of Hannah, who we know to have lived a life of mockery because of the people, the woman Penina, who lived with her in the house of Elkanah. And so Hannah needed a child so desperately, to a point that she wanted to prove that she is a woman also. But all this time and all these years, she used to go to the temple to present her sacrifices and to present her prayers. God did not consider her prayers even when she cried vehemently. But the Bible do tell us that the day Hannah placed her heart in a position where she displayed that the child that she's going to get, she will give him back to God, God considered her prayers. The thing there is, God was also in need of a man, somebody who can replace the position of Hophni and Phinehas in the priesthood because of the kind of life they lived in the house of God. And so, which means a priesthood was vacant, and God at that time was looking for somebody who can take over that responsibility. But there was no one, because the voice of God was so scarce, no one was qualified to hear from God. And so when this woman displayed that she can meet the need of God by giving him back, by dedicating this child as a gift, for God's work, for God's agenda, for God's needs and God's burdens. It was a done deal between her and God concerning the need she had in her life. And so God gave her and answered the prayers of her heart because she was going to cater the needs of God. Our problem is our prayers are about us only. And so we don't care about what God needs. We think because He is God, He owns everything, He is almighty, He knows everything. There is no way He can be in need of anything. But the example we have showed here with the life of Hannah, or between God and Hannah, proves us wrong, because surely God was in need of someone. In one of the scriptures, God says, I've been looking for a man who can stand between me and these people. I did not find any. So God is always in need. In fact, Jesus said, the harvest is plenty, but there are few harvesters. So God is consistently in need of people who can step up and give their lives to God and yield their lives to be the vessels to cater His needs. And until we come to that realization and knowledge, it will be difficult for us to be in a position to receive from God. Worship is not worship if you don't have an alternative. And what that means is you must choose to wake up and pray when you needed a sleep. You must choose to take out from your pocket and give when you yourself have a need in your house. You must choose to sit beside the feet of Jesus and listen to His word when there is plenty of work in the kitchen to do. Worship is not worship if you don't have an alternative. You must have other gods around you and you choose God. Worship is not worship when you don't have a reason not to worship. And Abraham is a good example, because Abraham had millions of reasons not to sacrifice Isaac because he loved him so much. He was the only son he had. He had reasons not to give him. He got Isaac at the age of 100. There is no guarantee that Sarah can get another Isaac. If I give Isaac, it's over with me. But the reason why worship was mentioned the first time in his case is because he had millions of reasons not to worship. But even when he was surrounded with so many reasons, he decided to worship God and gave Isaac for sacrifice. We, at the other hand, even just to go to the house of God and just worship and praise Him, we search around first. If we don't have anything to do, I can only go to the church if I'm done with all of my works. And if there's anything to do, then, well, I'm sorry, God, I've got a reason not to. But worship is not a worship if you don't have a reason not to worship. I used to think, and actually I used to ask myself, why did God put the tree in the garden that led Adam and Eve to sin. If God knew that these people may eat this because he's the God of all knowledge, surely he knew. Why then did he put them in risk, at risk, and not just keep this thing out of our sight? I mean, why put the entire race of mankind to danger by testing these people in this way? Can't you just plant this tree somewhere else? But I have learned later that there are kind of creatures that God in his creative enterprise had to give them what we call divine free will. Angels are one in that group of creatures, and human are also one of those creatures in the group. God gave us a divine free will. And that's why he said, what is a man that you are so mindful of him? A son of man that you care of him so much. Yet you made him just lower than the angels. That means there are things we have in common with angels. And one of those things is called divine freedom of choice. If you will, you can call it divine free wills, divine freedom of choice, the power to choose. And it's not limited to choosing God. No, you still have the power to choose, not to choose the one who gave you the power to choose. That's how far divine freedom of choice goes. You can still choose not to choose the one who gave you the power to choose. The fact that I created you doesn't leave you indebted to me. You can still choose not to choose me, even if I am the one who gave you the power to choose. It is therefore required by this law that this kind of creatures must be offered chance to use this opportunity, this freedom to choose. Don't give me power to choose and not options to choose from. If you give me power to choose, then you must also offer me options to choose. If you give me power to choose but not options to choose from, that means you are a coward, because you are scared I may not choose you. So you are forcing me, in other ways, to choose you by leaving me without an option. So God had to give Adam and Eve the power to choose, because it's a law that rules under this group of creatures. But not only power to choose, but also options to choose. So in the case of angels, just to digress, in the case of angels, there is a level of glory in the kingdom of heaven, or in the kingdom of God, that angels cannot desire. They can know about it, but they are not allowed to desire. Just like in the case of Adam and Eve, the tree was there right in their face. They can marvel at it, they can look at it, but they are not allowed to eat it. So angels were aware of the kind of glory that they were not allowed to desire. So Lucifer's heart desired. He did not just gaze at the glory. He did not just wonder about the glory that was available, the glory above his own, but he allowed his heart to desire that glory. That's the way in which Lucifer sinned. Because he said, I will ascend to the heavens and set up a throne above the stars of God. I will climb up to the highest heavens. I will be like the Most High. And this is chapter 14 of Isaiah. He desired to have the glory that he was not allowed to desire. So this law says choice is greater than ownership. In other words, choice is greater than ownership. Who created you does not determine who you worship. No, it's who you choose to worship that determines who you worship. But there are consequences at the end of the day for choosing not to choose the one who gave you the power to choose. Don't be fooled by your ability to choose. No, you will regret at the end of the day for using foolishly the power to choose. But for now, you have freedom to choose. Choose who you want to serve. Choose who you want to obey. If you choose to obey yourself, God will respect your choice. If you choose to serve your ego, God will respect your choice. If you choose to serve a fallen spirit, God will respect your choice. Because God gave you the power to choose and options to choose from. That's why he said, I set life and death before you. I gave you power to choose. Now I'm giving you options to choose. I give you power to choose. And here is in front of you death and life. Choose wisely. But I advise you to choose life. This is what Satan meant with Job. You are forcing Job to serve you. You gave him power to choose, but not options to choose. And God, what do you mean with that? What do you mean? You are protecting him. You are protecting his family. You are protecting his wealth. He doesn't have an alternative. He does not have a reason not to worship you. Take these things away from him. Give him a reason not to worship you, not to serve you. See if he will not curse you in your face. What Satan was saying to God concerning Job was, Job cannot not worship you because he does not have an alternative. I mean, he has no reasons. There is nothing he's worrying about. He is protected. You've built a wall around his family, a wall around his wealth. He is secured. He's settled. He's okay. Why should he not worship you? Because you have done all these things for him. Take these things away from him. See if he will not curse you at your face when he have a reason not to worship you. But Job in his ashes said, I came naked to the world. I will return naked therefore. I will not curse God. I rather trust in him, even if he is the one that killing me. You see, that statement is the one that crushed the devil. Yeah. Even if he is the one that is killing me, I will still trust in him. Because what the devil wanted to do was to accuse God to Job after having accused Job to God. So he wanted to go back to Job and say, you see, this is the God you've been serving. You see, this is the God you've been trusting. You see, this is the God you've been saying so well about him. See what he's doing. But and he was using his friends to say so. That no, God is there's no way things like this, calamities like this can fall on a righteous man. These are the works of God to punish you. You have sinned. So it was the whispering of the devil against God to Job. These were accusation of Satan against God to Job. So that he will come back later and say, I told you. But Job says, I will still trust in him, even if he is the one that is killing me. That's a sealer on its own. That is what we do most of the time. We curse God in his face. If he doesn't answer me, I will look for another way. If I don't get what I want, I will leave the church. If I don't get a husband, I'll go look somewhere else. We turn to other gods. We turn and trust other ways because our needs are more important than God. And that is actually equivalent to cursing God. But somebody said, "Give me a child, I will give him back to you. Lift me up, I will draw all men unto you. Be with me, I'll give you tithe of everything." Even if he doesn't deliver us, we are not bowing down to your image. There is a level of growth where there is nothing in life that can shake your faith. Everything you want to do is for the glory of God. Worship is not worship if you don't have a choice. It's not worship if you don't have a reason not to worship. It's not worship if it does not hurt you. It must hurt you. You must remain faithful to God. You must remain standing in the promises of God. Even when it's hurting so bad, you stand there. You remain there in your faith and say, "The God I serve is the one that will deliver me." That's worship. Choose today. This is what one man said. Choose today who you want to serve, whether the gods of your fathers who they served in Egypt, or the gods of your fathers who they served in the wilderness. But as for me and my house, we shall serve God. I choose to serve God in all seasons of my life. I choose to serve God even in empty stomach. I choose to serve God even when I am sick. I choose to serve God even when I'm crying. I choose to serve God even when I lose my job. I choose to serve God even when I lose my child. I choose to serve God even when he doesn't answer. I choose to serve God in everything. I can lose everything. I choose to serve God. I can lose everyone. I choose to serve God. In the middle of the storm, I choose to serve God. Even in the face of death, I choose to serve God. Joshua is saying this to Israel, and he says, "I'm now very old. I may die at any time. Remember all the miracles that God did for you in the wilderness when he took you out of slavery and led you through the desert. But that must not hold you hostage. You still have a choice to choose." Worship is not worship if you don't have an alternative. It's not worship if you don't have a reason not to worship. And I'm saying to you, it doesn't matter how it hurts. If you choose to stand and trust God and obey God and expect from him, that is what we call worship. Thank you. God bless you.